Hello, Ray Phoenix here, welcome to Let's Play Spyro the Dragon Part 16. This time around we're going after the boss of this world, which is Jacques. He's actually kind of a pushover boss, not as big of a pushover Metalhead was, but he's still a pretty big pushover. His level more than makes up for it. His level is filled with tons of depth and detail, and hard to find and hard to reach gems. So it's like they made the level, if the intent it was actually just going to be a regular level among all the other regular levels, and I realized, oh, we have to put a boss in this world. Well, we don't have enough room to make a new level for a boss. Let's just take one of the levels we already made and just add the boss into it. So it's like this last minute side. Let's just go take this level and make it the boss level for this. This definitely is the most depth, most detail you can put into a boss level. I think his level kind of makes up for the fact he's kind of a pushover. The music in this level is pretty good too. For some reason, this piece of music is called Rain, and it's by Stuart Copeland. You can find it on the Stuart Copeland Anthology album, as I mentioned. I think that's what it was called. It's called Anthology or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what it was called. I haven't seen that album in a long time. But this song is on. You can also buy it on iTunes, I think, or something like that. And it's been thought that this music is called Rain, and a level doesn't even have rain at all, but it has lava in it, which is kind of the opposite of rain. I think it may have been like an actual piece of music that Stuart Copeland made himself, and he just used it for this game or something like that, which would explain why it appears on his album, because Stuart Copeland probably doesn't own the rights to any of this music in this game. He just got paid by Sony and Insomniac Games, or whoever would pay him to make this music to this game. But he doesn't, I don't think he would own the rights to it for that reason. And I don't think that album had anything to do with Spyro, because that's the only thing from Spyro on that entire album. It does have some songs he did for movies in there too, but I think that's just about it. He did do some music soundtracks as well too, as I mentioned earlier. These levels, there's a lot of manipulation. This feels like the kind of stuff I expect from like a game like Wrecking Crew or Gyromites, where it involves like hitting something and it makes the platforms go up or something like that. Then you can know when to go onto the platforms. It's all about careful timing or puzzle solving stuff. Just like why I consider a game like Wrecking Crew to be a puzzle game. Wrecking Crew pretty much is a puzzle game made by Nintendo. It's not the kind of game where you just mindlessly go and break boxes and expect to make progress in the game. It's all about knowing what you're doing and carefully planning and plotting out what's going on. I think Gyromites is kind of like that too. Gyromites would have been a pretty good game if it didn't require the use of Rob the Robot, which is the thing that killed the game. I doubt anyone's ever played Gyromites legitimately before. I know I've never done it before. I think it might be possible to play Gyromites on the Nestopia emulator, manipulating the keyboard to make the emulator think it's two controls. That might be possible. I haven't actually tried that yet. I don't know. If I do get that to successfully work, I'll probably make a video about that eventually. Gyromites being played on an emulator. It's the only real way I can play games on emulators now. I mean, the only way I can really play NES games now, because I'm probably not going to have an NES sometime soon. My NES is in rough condition. I don't plan on getting another one when it finally goes out, since I know NES systems are notorious for breaking down. Where that classic gamer guy went through 3 NES systems during his lifetime. He's only ever been through one Atari 7800. The Atari 7800 is more durable and and less likely to break down. I actually wouldn't mind owning an Atari 7800. And again, I don't really have much room for modern systems. I'm going to lose some. Maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea for me to get an Atari 7800. It's also backwards compatible with 2600 games as well too. It's kind of like how the PS3 was backwards compatible, the Slim PS3 was backwards compatible with PS1, but not backwards compatible with PS2. Like to skip a generation. They seem to have a thing for generational skips, or generation, this generation did this and that next generation won't have that, but the next generation after that. Well, it even works with controllers as well too. Just something the Atari 5200 didn't have. So the Atari 5200 controller are this weird port thing. It looks like the same controller connector as used on the Neo Geo CD. It's another system I never own and probably will never own, because how damn expensive those things are. Those Neo Geo, it's supposed to be a cheap alternative to the Neo Geo AES, but it's actually even more, it's just as expensive, or almost as expensive as the Neo Geo AES. This is Jacques. He's something. Look at that. He looks like the Mask from that Jim Carrey movie, The Mask. And he keeps jumping on that spring thing, and he's like just the mask that just has a spring on him. I mean, that's what happened to the mask after the events of the movie The Mask. I don't really want to spoil the movie, but then again, I think most people know what happens in that Jim Carrey movie, The Mask. So maybe this is what happened to The Mask after it. We like to think that maybe this is a true sequel to The Mask, and not that god-awful comedy film called Son of the Mask that everyone hates. Son of the Mask. I remember that. I never actually watched that movie before, but I heard it was pretty garbage. So I'm probably never gonna watch it because I don't like wasting my time watching garbage movies. I mean, I have a friend in real life that likes to watch garbage movies for fun. He has this whole thing called Cinema Eaters where we have to watch all these crappy movies that he makes, or movies that he considers to be crappy. And I get my own version called Cinema Watchers, where instead of going against bad movies, we just watch good movies and praise good movies. It's better to watch good movies and praise stuff that's actually good, especially the obscure stuff that you may not have seen otherwise. It's good to, bring attention to, lesser known movies or movies that people are probably not as likely to have heard of. There's tons of movies out there. It's impossible to have heard of everything or seen everything. There's probably tons of movies that were made years ago that I don't know about, and they're probably really good, and I may never discover them because, well, just never will discover them. There's just too much stuff to know about. Same with books. I used to like to think, oh yeah, I could read all those books. I could read all that. And now I'm starting to realize that, yeah, there's just way too many books. I'm currently reading a decology of books called Mission Earth. It's by L. Ron Hubbard, and he wrote a series of 10 novels, and he actually coined the term decology from that series of books. 10 books, how many series of 10 books? Yeah, Harry Potter is nothing on that, because Harry Potter only has 7 books. Mission Earth is 10 books, that's a lot. I wonder if I'll ever write a decology someday. I like to think I will maybe eventually write some sort of decology or something. I said a decology, a series of 10 books. But then I'll end up having to make my own filler content. I didn't think I'd be good at writing books when I was younger, simply because a lot of the novel writing is writing filler content, so it's not overly relevant to the plot, but still necessary to put in the book to expand on what the story is or expand on what things are. I didn't think I was that's why I stuck more to writing movies, like movie scripts kind of thing, for like a movie storyline, because you don't need to expand it as much or put as much filler stuff into it. I realize now that, yeah, I wrote my first novel, and I wrote way too much. I unintentionally made it ever Battlefield Earth. It's almost as long as Battlefield Earth, which is why I have to slim down a lot of it. It's called The Man-Child. I think I've mentioned it a lot before. I thought I could get it out sometime later this year, and then I'm writing the sequel to it as well, too. And I have other novel ideas I'll probably rank as a novel idea, no pun intended. There's more of this platform puzzle solving. So every you jump into that whirlwind, there's those things that look like Jabba the Hutt. They're just perched down on these platforms. You can jump and glide to them and just spray them. They also look like the Gorgon Knights from that movie Small Soldiers, which actually came out in the same year that this game came out, which was 1998. Which was 1998, and Small Soldiers came out. That was a pretty good movie. I think it is another one of those underrated classics. I still have a VHS tape of that movie. I just recently found it on archive.org as well, too, so yeah, I guess that's pretty good. Archive.org has all kinds of cool stuff that you could find. So you can jump on there. I got a lot of my PS1 ROMs, or ISOs, as it could be called, from archive.org. Archive.org is good at hosting PS1 ROMs and stuff like that. So and over here are some more of those gems containers you could find, those containers of gems. Just go and collect them. I really owe a lot to archive.org. I also used to back up my important, precious data, and so it's like cloud storage. So if something ever if my house ever gets burned down, it'll be safe on the cloud, on archive.org. That's what archive.org is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a way to preserve and back up data, so data never gets lost, so data never gets, deleted or lost or anything like that. Because I have had data, well, I've always had issues of data loss before where I have to take in so many computers, where I have to get my computer constantly fixed, and always results in data loss. That was a big problem with my old Alienware laptop, which I'm still glad that laptop is long gone, the Alienware. It was a mistake to buy one of those behemoths, and I'll never buy one of those behemoths of us again. They still make them, they still sell them. I heard Alienware wasn't even doing that well. It's kind of like that awkward cousin that you have. So it's like when you have like a family dinner, or that awkward cousin that people like to keep away from and they like to stay away from as much as they can. They treat him like he's an alien, or like he's Frankenstein's monster, or something that was exiled from Mars. And that's what Alienware is like with Dell now, apparently. There's some other companies too. I think HP has their own brand. It was called Omen or something like that. It was like their brand of gaming laptops, and then other companies have their own, so they're starting to become kind of a trendy thing. I say trendy because like what all trends have, all trends eventually, they die off eventually, and it probably will become a dead trend. Especially now, laptops are getting to a point, or even just standard, basic, run-of-the-mill laptops are powerful enough to run almost any game imaginable. Eventually, it'll just become, they'll get to a point where technology is so good, it can run anything. Phones will be like that too eventually. Pretty much any phones, even the budget phones will eventually be able to run GameCube emulation or any other kind of emulation, really. And then eventually I'll be able to run PS3 emulators and Xbox 360 emulators. Ooh, I look forward to them. This is Ray Phoenix, signing out.